If you think about the people who are your heroes, most of them are not quiet and you know what they stand for. If you have too many people liking what you're doing, you may not be taking enough risk. I was obsessed for probably a decade in order to make Backstage happen. There is no amount of money that is worth losing your integrity and is worth selling yourself out. Success in business comes down to decision making. What do you do when you hit a problem? These moments are pivotal in business. But there are ways to navigate this, and I've learned a ton of them while building my businesses and helping others build theirs. Here are the top 10 secrets to success that I think you need to help you become a millionaire. The first secret is to align everything that you do with the big picture. I call this the tree trunk method. Most people say, I have to have 7 income streams. You have 7 income streams, so I'm going to start with that. There's no way in the world I would have been able to start with 7 income streams. First of all, a few years ago, I only had 0 income streams. So starting with 7 would have been a fool's errand because I would not have been good at any of them. So I started with 1, and of course I pivoted and I messed up and I failed and I got back up again and I had 3 things going over here and everything was messy. But once I figured out, if I focus on one thing for more than a year, I actually can get really good at it. I can learn from it, iterate, and then double down on that. Then things started to change. So I think of it as a tree trunk. You have the main thing that you work on. So what's that main thing you want to do day in and day out for several years? The thing that's making the most money for you, the thing that is fulfilling you, all of that. That's your main tree trunk. What do you want to be known for? And then you can, as you get higher, as you get further along, you can start branching out. Different things can be branched from that. So it's aligned with the tree trunk, the second income stream, but it is an offshoot, if you will. And you can have several of those that happen. And then the leaves can be the money. So people ask me, how do you do so many things? How do you have so many things going? Well, if they didn't align, if they weren't going all in the same direction, part of the big picture, they would all be pulling at different sides and none of them would win, right? And all of my attention and my resources would be spread too thin. Instead of that, I visualized them. And anytime I make a decision about adding another revenue stream or another opportunity or saying yes to something, I ask myself, does this align with the big picture? Is it aimed in the same direction? Because if it is, I already have so many resources that I can pour into it. I can set my sights in that direction. It has a higher chance of success because of that. The second secret to success is be willing to be wrong and be wrong in public. All right, so I think that you should share your voice with the world because there's only one of you. People get scared to do that because they say, well, people online are really mean, which they are. They can be. And what if I get it wrong or what if I mess up? I don't want to be canceled. If you think about the people who are your heroes, the people you admire the most, the people you want to be like, most of them are not quiet. Most of them have a very strong opinion and a strong brand, and you know what they stand for. The reason you know that is because they've said it. They've expressed themselves and they've done so publicly. They've put themselves out there, and there's no one on this planet who doesn't have somebody mad at them. You can't please everybody. If you have too many people liking what you're doing, you may not be taking enough risk. So to be willing to be wrong in public means that you're taking a healthy amount of risk, in my opinion, and it means that you're going to reach more people. And in building your company and building your brand, that is the most important thing you can do, is to have your message heard by more people. So when I think about this for myself, I'm always out there, right? I'm online, people are meeting me. I go fly around the country and around the world and I meet with people. And every single day I get so much love and so much incredible feedback, and people from years ago, or they met me years ago, or they found out about me yesterday. I get all this love and I understand, like, oh, I helped this person start their company, or this person got inspired and did this. And there's always, every single day, negativity. There's always someone saying to me, either in comments or DMing me or emailing me or telling me to my face, I've done something wrong. I was wrong about something. It took me years to understand that that's just part of the game. That is the price I'm paying to get my positive message out to the world. And so if you can learn that, It's not easy to learn, but if you can learn that, you can face it. And that's the second secret to success. The third secret to success is to share your opinions with others. It's kind of like the second one. It really is about using your voice and saying what you believe. I know so many people who are in the shadows and they have strong opinions about things, but they don't want to ruffle feathers. The truth of the matter is, you're not going to get very far if you're not willing to put yourself out there. I say be yourself so the people looking for you can find you. A big part of that is sharing your opinion. Forming an opinion. Depending on how old you are or what you've experienced in life, it may be tough for you to make decisions or to decide what your opinion is. But you know yourself. You know deep down what you believe about something public, something private. I want to challenge you to write a blog post, put a tweet out there, put something online that you may not have done in the past. Surprise people in your family. Like put something out there that's a little bit stronger of an opinion. And the more you do it, it's like a muscle being built. You'll get more used to it. You'll get used to hearing the bad feedback like we just talked about. And you'll also be used to hearing from that person who DMs you and says, I couldn't say what you just said, but I believe it and I feel it and you've just helped me today. It's such an incredible feeling and it's a very powerful thing to be able to do and to share with the world. The fourth secret to success is to embrace your obsession. That's right. So again, go back to thinking about somebody who you are really impressed with, who inspires you, who you want to be like or be around. Think of the person who is top of their game, the LeBrons, the Beyoncés, all of the tech heroes, all the people who you want to be like. Maybe it's somebody at your church, maybe it's somebody who you know in real life, a teacher. The thing about them is that for years, most of them have been obsessed with the thing they're known for. And that obsession has fueled them. I use myself again as an example. When I was broke, I was homeless. I was in Pearland, Texas. This was in the early 2010s. I was in my early 30s. I hadn't figured out anything. I was so broke, but I would still learn something every single day about venture capital of all things. I was happy for it to be a Tuesday because we had free chili at the hotel we were staying in. But I was also going back to my room that I shared with my mom, who was in her 60s, and I was looking online. Thankfully, I had a laptop, and I was researching venture capital. I was talking to founders. I was interviewing founders and asking them what they needed, what their biggest pain point was. I was reading all the trade papers and listening to interviews and podcasts. I was obsessed for probably a decade in order to make Backstage happen. But listen, we are the largest fund for underrepresented, underestimated founders by the number of portfolio companies in the country. That's what my obsession has created. LeBron is obsessed with basketball. Luka is obsessed with basketball. Beyonce is obsessed with an excellence, a quality of performance that none of us can really quite understand. They're the top. They're the best at what they do. So if you feel like you're obsessed with something, and I mean something, not someone, if you feel like you're obsessed with something, embrace that. People may make fun of you and say, oh, you're talking about that again. But that could be the thing that makes you wealthy because of that obsession. So lean into that, embrace it. Secret number 5 is to simplify the complex. If you're someone who can take very complicated topics and simplify them for a larger audience, you will have a larger audience. It's not about appearing to be the smartest person in the room. It's not about knowing all the biggest words and being able to show that you went to this school or that school. It's about describing something to someone at a level where they can understand it, meeting people where they are. If you can do that, if you can train yourself to do that, then you up your game. One of the things that I learned while I was writing my first book, It's About Damn Time, is that most books, most business books and other types of books are written at an 8th grade level or so. That's just something that I learned while I was putting my first book together. And it's because more people can read it. Another way to think about it is there somebody in your life who is not great at necessarily reading or taking things in a certain way? And do you find ways to talk to them where maybe if I say it out loud or if I read it out loud for them, they'll understand it much better. We all have somebody like that in our lives where we adjust ourselves. Those are the types of skills that will really help you communicate to a larger audience and endear you to that audience. And it's more fun this way. You can take more people with you. So learning to communicate and learning to simplify the complex is a huge, huge benefit. Secret number 6 is have integrity. Integrity. Okay, so there have been so many times that I've been offered money when I really, really needed it for my venture fund, Backstage Capital, but it was coming from the wrong person or the wrong entity or the wrong intent. And I would say no to it. Sometimes I talk about it on social, most times I don't. There have been many times that I have walked away from the table when I didn't think it was right for me, for the fund, or for the founders that I represent. Even though we need that money, even though that would be really helpful in the moment, I have to wake up with myself. I have to live with myself. And if it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work. The cool thing is, usually when that happens, when something is attached, like some amount of money is attached to the wrong person, and I say no, what normally happens is that the universe kind of balances that out, and I either get the same amount from someone else or I get even more from someone else who is more aligned. There is no amount of money that is worth losing your integrity and is worth selling yourself out for. You have to live with yourself. Integrity is so important. The cool thing about the story that I have, like going from sleeping on the floor of the San Francisco airport to generating millions in revenue and raising tens of millions of dollars, is that I get to do that with my integrity intact. So I know myself and I'm proud of what I did. I'm proud of what I accomplished and what I continue to accomplish. That's a really great feeling to have. So think about your life in a few years and think about what you want to be able to say about yourself. What do you want other people to be able to say about you? What do you want people looking up to you to be able to say about you? That's what integrity does. That's why integrity is important. Secret number 7 is get comfortable with rejection. Rejection is part of a math game. When I was younger, I wanted to get into live music production. And what I did was I emailed 100 tour managers and production managers. And it took me 2 months to find all their emails and to research them. And I sent them these emails and 80 of them ghosted, didn't hear back from them at all. 20 of them responded. 17 of those 20 said no, right out the gate, not interested. 3 of those 20 and of those 100 said, yes, I will have a meeting with you in person. So I met with 3 of those production and tour managers, and one of them turned into the first major gig of my life, where I went on tour with an international musician for years off of that one yes. So getting used to rejection actually helps you get to your first yes. So many people stop where the pain is, stop too soon, and they say, well, I don't want to hear the no. I don't want to get rejected. It's too painful. And yes, it's a bummer. Of course it is. We're human. But if you can look at this as a math game, every no is getting you closer to the first yes and to the next yes. Then things change for the better. Secret number 8 is to read, and then read again. What do I mean by that? Well, so my book, Your First Million, is a good example. You're going to read this once, of course, take it all in, please act on what you learn. But I promise you, if you read this 6 months from now, again, it'll hit a different way. You'll see something you didn't see before. Something will make sense that didn't before, because your life is moving along. Your circumstances are changing. Your energy is changing. So certain words and certain paragraphs and certain chapters are going to hit a different way each time you read a book, especially a good book. So I read Oprah Winfrey's book, What I Know for Sure, at least once a year. And I've done so for maybe 5 years. And every single time I read it, something different comes from it. I read Rachel Rodgers' book, We Should All Be Millionaires, maybe every quarter. And every time I read it, I learn something different. Or something that didn't really hit the first time is exactly what I need to hear that time. So that's a secret to success, because you have, again, the power to do this. Is there a great book that you read a few years ago or even recently Let's do a test. Read it again. See if it's different the second time. So learn to do this over time and stack. It's not about how many books you can read. It's about what you're getting from those books, right? So if there are certain books that have been really helpful to you, go back and read again. Secret number 9 is have conviction about something for a decade or longer. Okay, if you made it this far in the video, this is going to help you so much. So having conviction about something for a decade or longer, it may seem like that's such a long way away, but I can tell you, I'm 43 right now, and 2010, when I was 30, seems like it was yesterday. It really does. The time goes by so fast. But it was around then where I started thinking about investments in underrepresented founders, women, BIPOC, LGBTQ+, because I'm all 3. It's then when I started thinking about, wait a second, it doesn't seem right that less than 10% of venture funding and angel investing goes to these categories when 90% goes to white men in a country where they make up 30% of the country. I started thinking about it then. I did what I said in the first secret, which is think of it as the tree trunk. I focused on it for years, and now I have so much to show for it. The cover of Fast Company, the cover of Black Enterprise, 200 companies invested in, 500 founders invested in, thousands and thousands of employees hired, and billions of dollars in enterprise value in our portfolio. So you have the conviction about something, and here's where it gets really interesting. If you are to simply have conviction about something for more than a decade, you outlast 99% of your competition because they simply will not do that. People can't even stay in the game for a quarter, let alone a decade. You could outblast your competition, your haters, and your naysayers. Okay, we have one more secret to success, getting you closer to being a millionaire. But before I get there, I want you to hit the subscribe button and set your notifications so you know when the next video is. Thank you so much. I love seeing your comments. I will answer all of them. I cannot wait to hear what you think of this video. Okay, number 10, be willing to repeat yourself. Okay, so a few years ago, I had debilitating stage fright. I could not get on a stage. I could not speak in front of a lot of people. Obviously, that's changed. I now speak hundreds of times a year, virtually, in person. I've spoken in front of 20,000 people before. I speak everywhere. And I get asked the same questions over and over and over and over again. And I have to repeat myself. What I learned from working with musicians, though, who sing the same songs every single night, I asked a friend of mine a few years ago, I was their tour manager, and indie singer-songwriter. I said, how do you sing that song night after night after night? How do you repeat yourself and have the same conviction in your words and your tone? And she said something I'll never forget. She said, every night I break my own heart over again. So she can remember the feeling of when she wrote that song, like it's the first time she's singing it. And it just, of course, blew my mind. That's what you're going to have to get used to as you are getting closer and closer to the greatness that I know is ahead of you. As more and more people learn about you, as you start to stack your skills, as you get more and more resources and more money and more opportunity, you're going to be asked the same questions, or you're going to have to teach the same lessons. And the way that I do it is every single day, I pretend it's the very first time I'm saying it. I'm in the moment, it's the first time I'm saying it, and the person who needs to hear it is the most important person in the room. If you can do that, and the other 9 things that I just taught you, you can become a millionaire.